watch it, and I want to cover topics again. So these are things that again, just have to deal with everyday life circumstances, and are a series of activities that I've been learning about. So one of this is happens to be policing and crime prevention. So this is something that, by the way, I'm doing this probably around like 1 a.m. right now, the recording. So I apologize if I'm speaking really quietly. But this time I really had to keep the volume down, so it's about past midnight. Anyways, we have 4 tabs here, and they're very short on display. I think on this or the side, in the background, and I just kind of want to run through some of the information that's being displayed here. And there are 4 tabs. And so, first one we're going to cover is break-ins or typically crimes opportunities. Let someone know if someone's home. Break-in enters happen during the day. When the homeowner is not home, it's important to realize that there's a little chance of you doing it. So overall, this page here is from my local police division, and it's an article on break-in and enters and the general logistics that, the mindset that burglars and robbers and people of that sort will try to use to get into your property, and what you can do about it. So tips and guidelines to prevent. Nothing is of course a guarantee by any means, but basically it's a good strong article that covers things like materials that you can use to identify which of your possessions have been stolen, like a trace identifier pen, another tip or trick, or general common sense guidelines just to keep your door, your rear doors locked if you have a yard, so on and so forth. But let's run through some of these things because I actually haven't read through it in at least probably half a week. Always let someone know if they're home. The biggest deterrent, something else that was also brought up, is that the biggest deterrent from breaking and enters is just them knowing that someone's home. So you just want to broadcast that and say, hey, someone's here. Yeah, who is it? Who's knocking? And that's more than enough of a deterrent, actually, for most of the crimes. In fact, it was a study, and it's supposed to be on one of the other tabs here, but unfortunately Mozilla Firefox closed down, so I had to restart the browser, and at that time I couldn't find. I'd have to dig through my history. I don't want to do that. But anyways, there was an article from the States detailing, it's a study on what the major deterrents of break-in and enters are specifically. And they mentioned, of course, like the 5 top criteria or takeaways from their study. One of them was like basically punishment. The severity, of the punishment doesn't seem to have much of an impact. If anything, most of the deterrent comes from the fact that the offenders know that comes from whether or not the offenders know that there's anyone inside the house, and if it's empty, then there's a much more increased break-in risk. And most of them also happen during the day. Surprisingly, they don't happen during the night. But that makes a lot of sense when you take into factor the fact that, well, if it's at night, people are sleeping, so someone's always home, right? So it's like they want to break in when you're at work. So let's read through some of this. So we got GPS, data maps, my neighborhood, media services, careers, detection in your neighborhood. So keep your eyes, ears open for suspicious vehicles and people around your home. Don't confront them because they may be armed. Record the license plate numbers. Record the description of suspicious vehicles. Record detailed descriptions of the occupants. So, report concerns immediately. Don't wait. Reducing your risk. So mark your property with a trace identified pen. They give a website here, but I would say that website actually is something that's been compromised, because it's not surprising. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you have some kind of company or service that is working against criminals. Obviously, the organized crime divisions from the black market will actively pursue your business interests, and they probably have come together and decide to infect a malware payload professional, like black hat hacker type of compromisation. So it's not something that would be amateurisque. You'd give them incentive to actually hire someone professional to break in, hack into, and install malware into your business. So unfortunately, the trace identified pen website doesn't seem to be. We'll show you that in a moment, because my antivirus has flagged it as being an infected web page. But anyways, further down, record the contents of your home or cottage. So serial number, make a video recording and download it to a safe and easily retrievable place, unlikely to be lost or stolen. Consider installing a home security system. That's just obvious. Do not announce your absence on an answering machine or social media. So just don't let people know that you're away. Don't let them know when. Check your identification of sales and service people. And don't hide keys in secret places, but instead give it to someone you can trust. And furthermore, so if a crime has occurred, what you should do, protecting your home, right? Something that's key is, don't enter the home if there are signs that it's been broken into, because very likely there's a very fair chance that the offender is still inside your premises and they may be armed. Don't touch or clean anything, by the way. You also don't go in and start moving things around, because it's a crime scene and the police will come and gather evidence and so on and so forth. How to protect your home. So this is stuff you can do, right? Tips: making sure the exterior doors are solid core wood or metal. My unit is like that, for example. Typically, all the units inside my complex are like that. Install a good quality deadbolt lock. I wouldn't say mine's a good quality, or it's broken. Minimum 4-hole security strike plate. So these are those requirements, or the general bare minimum guidelines. They even give minimum 2 inches in length, trying to add some rigidity. Secure sliding doors with a commercially available bar or block, right? Put up wooden dowel or broom handle, prevent them from even to break the lock, they can. Burglars look for sliding glass doors because they're the easiest to open, so it's the most convenient. Keep a garage or tool shed locked. Don't give them resources to break into your home, right? So you would keep all your, hardware tools away, like hammers and wrenches. Remove all obstructions in your yard that could conceal them, right? So you don't want to have things covering obstacles like a large bush or a table you could hide under. Limit access to or out of reach from windows, lower roofs, second-story windows, and balconies that they can climb on. Lock up ladders and objects used as platforms. Watch for large overhanging tree limbs that they can climb on. Ask a trusted neighbor to use your driveway or parking space when leaving the house for extended periods. And that again gives the added sense of perception or appearance that someone's still in the house even when you're on vacation. And if you're away, make sure that your residence locally is occupied. All that goes in the same thing. Have the sidewalk shoveled, mail collected. Don't let it accumulate on the driveway. Make would-be thieves visible by installing motion sensor lights. And that's something that I have as well. Anyways, that's a long article. There's still more here. Always let them know if someone's home, stuff like that. So I'm gonna close this. Let's hop over to. I was talking about the trace identified pen that they talked about above. So I put a quick Google search here, and you'll find here some articles. So CTV News, how a trace pen can help deter break-in enters, and dubbed the trace pen the anti-theft device. Leaves an ink mark which can only be seen using black light. And let me see if there's usually most of the web pages here can actually be covered with one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch displays. Not that one. Okay. Slide this over to the side for a bit. And try to read it from here. So how a trace pen can help deter break-in and enters. We're not going to click on the article and open it because I don't feel it's quite necessary. But I did have the article open once, but I ended up closing it. The trace pen anti-theft device leaves an ink mark which can only be seen using black light. Trace identified pen, fraud detection solutions. So this is the website I was talking about here actually. In fact, why don't we go back to display here since it's larger. And so this website here, I'm not going to click on it. I guess it's not flagged right now, but basically it had a large exclamation mark. My antivirus was scanning through all the links on the top results. So both of these here would have been detected, was marked with an exclamation mark saying that both web pages are compromised. Now right now, my anti-malware software is not actually actively scanning this browser tab, but I already know now. But basically, that's too bad. So if you want to make a purchase of this, I don't know how you would do it. Honestly, I guess the best way to, check out the site is just go to a public library and see if you can visit it from there. Although that's kind of like just saying, oh, I don't want to have it on my laptop or computer, so let's just go to the library and get that network infected. I don't know. Hopefully they have it more secure. Basically just don't compromise your own personal belongings, right? Your own electronics. So trace identified pen, fraud detection solutions, providing solutions for fraud detection, protect your business with innovative technology and advanced analytics. And the way it works is basically, as mentioned in the CTV article that I read, that you just mark your items. You can mark up to 50 items, and then you just upload. I'm not sure how, some kind of associated serial code or whatever onto their website. So you go to their website, which again I'm not going to do, probably infected pages, and you just associate. Upload the photographs and video takes, as well as the detailed information that you have of your belongings onto their website, and then basically your marked belongings if they are ever stolen. Pawn shops will not; they will reject it from the burglars or the robbers who are trying to sell it and auction it out for money. But they'll have a much more difficult time because apparently it's just too easy to trace personal belongings like this, and then there's a large risk that as a result, police officers and law enforcement will be able to trace the pawn shops all the way straight down to the organized criminals in the black market and have them be exposed and caught. So they don't want to risk that. Anyways, that's the way they say it works. I'm sure there's more to it. I'm not going to go into depth. So if we go scroll further down, there's more about it. NW London, your technology to identify your personal property, 2017, 2015, 2020. What's notable is that up here in 2014 was the news article, and it was mentioned that, again, the police services in my local region cooperates with this company and their products. And it's very rare that the police forces, law enforcement ever endorse any sort of product. Okay. Oh, here we go. Here's that article talking about CTV News. So how a trace pen can help deter break-ins and enters. Police chiefs issued a rare product endorsement. This was September 23rd, 2014. Dubbed the trace pen. And it's like a DNA of your property. The Peel Regional Police Constable Camille Chambers told. That's more than a decade ago, believe it or not. To retrieve the PIN numbers, police have access to special cameras capable of reading the identification codes. Okay, so the anti-theft device leaves an ink mark, which can only be seen using black light. The ink contains tiny plastic discs that are etched with a unique PIN number. To retrieve the PIN numbers, police have access to special cameras capable of reading the codes. Okay, it's basically another reference tool that homeowners can use. The group is hoping that the new tool will deter robbers from robbing homes and then selling the stolen goods at pawn shops. And obviously the police services work with pawn shops to stolen property. Okay. Last year, more than 1 million incidents of property crime were reported to police. That was in 2014. More than 1 million incidents, most of which were break-and-enters. Okay. And how much it costs? You can mark up to 50 items and it costs $39.95 at the time. That was a decade ago. I'm pretty sure it's more expensive now if it's still operational. But I mentioned already that the website is kind of compromised. So, and I believe this is the last one. But TPS crime prevention. So this is me when I went over to basically find more information on specific crime of break and enter. And the story behind this is basically about over a week ago. I had an encounter with a bit of a not so great people giving indirect signs that they were not trying to do something while I'm at work. And so that's kind of where this kind of came from. And I just upped my game by a while notch. You know, I found someone to watch over. I did a full recording of everything. And, you know, further, I'm going to continue adding more security measures, which I already have a variety, including security cameras, motion detectors, and, you know, alarms, like very fucking loud, annoying alarms, by the way. And more. Okay. So the last thing, so of course you can see the website's like breakdown here, the navigation, there's crime prevention, natural surveillance, break and enter prevention, robbery prevention, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, and reducing the risk of personal injury, and so on and so forth. And then Google apparently also says that people ask about situational crime prevention programs and stuff like that. So one last thing I want to cover before I end this very short snippet is, okay, let's go back to Windows, because I want to talk about that thing on my left hand side right here. Yeah. So over here on this side, you should see like a little, like a notepad, right there. Okay. And what it says is, there's actually a few numeric codes at the very top. And what it does is it's just where I take some notes. And so above you'll see that there's a few named files that I copy over onto, for example, my Excel document. And they have to do with usually just scanned items or mail or official documents and stuff like that. Then I get the name and I just copy and paste to get a record. But then below that is what I really want to talk about here, because we just talked about break-ins and enters and stuff like that in crime prevention, and how one of the suggestions was, of course, aside from using a trace identified pen, what you can do actually is you can take a recording of your entire unit, cover all the possessions, and then just, you know, kind of go through the things that are important and document them. Associate, cross-coordinate them between your video recording and like the serial numbers and product codes for important devices or possession belongings, such as like your phone or your computer or your TV or something like that, and just get the UPC code and serial code and just, you know, save it on a file, which I have done or I'm going to, and then the video recording is already done as well. So we all know what it looks like, you know, like a silver back with a bright red sticker on it saying, you know, cat and dog or whatever. And that way it gives a good profile description of what the officers should look for at the pawn shops and so on and so forth. So that's what's here on the side here. You can see basically I broke down the region of my my unit and all the positions that kind of belong to them I had recorded onto a video, and I have saved and synced that on multiple, you know, for my hard drive, on a cloud online storage, also, you know, somewhere else as well, which I won't mention. So now if anything ever happens, I have all that information I can just immediately give to law enforcement, and they will have all the information they need to, you know, take a comprehensive search for, or not search, but if there's it shows up in the black market or being sold to pawn shops, they will be able to identify that belongs to me. Okay, so this is a this is a measure you can take to up your security and up your general security. I guess that's about it. So that's about, I don't want to speak much further on this topic because I think that's about it. But this is important obviously because it was relevant to me at the time, and who knows, maybe some of you guys can benefit from some of these tips here. So you don't have to be living exactly the same local district as I do to make use of these tips and tricks, of course, these guidelines that are offered. Although things do vary and depend on your local area of living, I'm pretty sure that you'll have to use far more robust and rigid security systems. You're living in a third world country where crime is abundant. You know, there's barbed red, for example. There's a South article and video documentary. It was a documentary with an article about how in South Africa, people have to install like 10-meter high walls around their property with not barbed wire because they can't afford it. It's cheaper just to put broken glass on top. So it's at least a 10 foot or meter wall plus like barbed wire or cheaper broken glass on top, and they have to surround their entire perimeter. And there's always unease because apparently it's pretty much like a dog eat dog world over there, where you'll have your neighbors like staring you down like, who the fuck is this guy? Who is this guy here? You know, and everyone's just like constantly trying to gauge each other. It's a very low trust society. If anything, it's a very doubtful society because neighbors will mug their neighbors, basically it's a town, a city where people are essentially only caring for their own self-interest. And you're past the stranger passing by, you know, has every reason to just like take from you, and you have every reason to take from them. And so obviously the measures that are listed here, long story short, are probably not, they're far too weak. They're not going to be enough if you're living in a society or in a city like that. But you know, that highly depends on where you live, because if you're living all the way in Finland, I suppose, I've heard some stories of how people just leave their doors unlocked, and it's just a replica of like the 1970s in the States, where people would just leave their doors unlocked at night and nothing would happen. It's not the same anymore. It's like 50 years later, and but in other cities in the world, it's still like that. But in other cities, it's actually far worse, of course, or countries or locations. So anyways, I hope that's a little bit that you can make use of yourselves. Again, we're just kind of running through some interesting stuff here that we covered, and then it's part of taking up the space. That's part of my laptop right now. I know it's not exactly the most exciting thing. That's because you can't really get to like high computational power resources. Like I can't show you like movies or shows or games or anything like that if my entire device is just clogged with really important stuff. And honestly, I don't mind talking about this stuff because what are these activities that we're going through other than quote unquote the game of life, right? So if you want to look at it that way, it's like a film, movie, or animation, or comic, or novel depiction of the actual life that you're living right now, or the life that we're living together. So as far as I'm concerned, that's not any less interesting. In fact, it's only more interesting. It's just that, of course, living in it, sometimes it just doesn't feel that much fun. Sometimes things just feel like they suck. And that's understandable. But anyways, so that's a little bit on policing and security and crime prevention. And if you feel anything interesting, hopefully you can glean a little bit of stuff here and apply it to your own measures. Or you can share, again, if you want, just like go into comments, just write down what you've done. If you have your own house, you have your own property, and what kind of tips and tricks do you like to do to, beef up security in your area. I also, honestly, I'd be interested to hear where some of you come from anyways. So I know that somebody here commented from about a week or two ago that they're from Germany. So welcome, willkommen. It's only interesting. It gets only more interesting as I learn more and more about where other people are coming from, the rest of the world, and what things are like in different countries. That's something that I've always liked to explore ever since I was really young. I'm talking like 3-4 years old. I would even look into history, start reading books at the age of 5, all the way down to the medieval times and mythological Roman, Greek, Athens, and stuff like that. So, and the 7 dynasties that came and fell over the 3,000 years of China, and so on and so forth, and the history of la-di-da, various religions. And I've always had a keen interest in that, because the more you learn about that, the more it teaches you about human struggle and how it can overcome and how it can help fend for those who eventually you will come to care for. So that's about it. I'm gonna put it in that. That's local policing and breaking and enter prevention. So see you guys in the next one. I know this one was not really socially warranted, but that's fine, because that's why we didn't want to cover that many video topics about like social distress and conflict. It just happened to be a relevant topic because it's something I had to deal with on a daily basis, but not anymore. Thankfully, not the same level. See you guys next one. I think the next one's going to be about instead of law enforcement policing, it's going to be about healthcare. So cheers.